everybody. Whoa, where'd my voice go? Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks Sunday stream of consciousness. How's everybody doing this morning? Great to have you with us. Just a great day. The great week this week, weather-wise. A little bit warmer yesterday, but we had some beautiful days here in upstate New York this week. Great week to be playing golf. I welcome everybody watching this morning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome all the groups that allow us to share this show. Whether you're seeing it live or you're seeing it later on Memorex, we thank the groups, the dozens of groups that allow us to share the show and get all the views that we get monthly, weekly, daily. Specifically, our favorite groups, and I got to get another list up here. I apologize. But some of our favorites are always scrolling at the bottom. John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities. Greg Rawlings from America's Pastime, The Love of Baseball. Flo and Can from Bottom Line Sports. Who else? Let's Talk Sports. Ken Krause from Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts. And a quick shout out to Ralph Williams over at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff out of Ocean City, Maryland. He has a Pittsburgh focus, but a national footprint. I have been a guest on his show, the Sports Corner, that he does with Smoke and Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. So check out Ralph and all his stuff. Lots to talk about in sports this week. We just had the last Belmont that'll get run up here in Saratoga, 15 minutes up the road from me here in Half Moon, New York. Golden Tempo, the Derby winner, wins the third leg of the Triple Crown without trying for the second. Wins that race yesterday. Tremendous racehorse. So we got that news if you want to talk about that. The World Cup is starting this week. If you want to talk some World Cup, nobody's a soccer fan. Everybody gets to be a little bit of a soccer fan, I think, during World Cup. We'll root for the USA, who plays Paraguay, I believe, in Chicago to start things off. But the real news around sports is in the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, and even NFL. Lots of news there. We got the Knicks up 2-0. History says this series is over. I'm not saying it's over. The Spurs have outplayed the Knicks for good parts of game 1 and 2, except the parts that matter, and that's the end and where the scoreboard stops moving. So give the Knicks credit. Brunson hasn't played well, but has played well in the clutch. Katz played great. Bridges had a great game 2. Hart had a great game 1. Somebody's always picking somebody up. This team feels like they've really got it together. And the defense has been tremendous. And a big mistake by Wemby the other night. Age could be a factor here. This is a young team. Other than De'Aaron Fox, who's been around the block a few times, the rest of the team is young. And they could come back. I'm not saying they're not going to. But they're going to run into an interesting scene in Madison Square Garden on Monday night. And the president will be there as well. So we'll have that. It ought to be nice driving around New York this week with the Knicks at home, with the president in town, with the World Cup starting. Ought to be really interesting getting around New York City. In the NHL, a wild game 3 last night. Vegas gets up 4-0 on a hat trick, in a 6-minute hat trick by Mitch Marner last night. Gets up 4-0. Before, in the third period, by the way, they're up 4-0, and Carolina scores 3 goals in 39 seconds, gets the game winner with a little bit less than 2 minutes left. I'm sorry, the game tire with a little less than 2 minutes left, and Vegas comes back and wins it in double overtime on a puck off the skates. Vegas had 2 goals overturned. There was controversy on the game time goal because everybody had converged on the crease, so lots of video replays in that game, and a really classic, I think, Stanley Cup final game last night. Getting lost. We talked about, and we'll talk more about it once we have a bigger crowd this morning. But we talked about the ratings and how the NHL was going to push the NBA. It's not happening. 16 million, almost 17 million for for game 1 of the finals of the NBA. Less than 5 for the NHL. I'm just saying. So lots to talk about there. We can get into that. Major League Baseball, we get, the labor issues still lurking over. How's it going to affect the trade deadline? I've read articles say it won't, but I got to believe it will. Are guys like Skubal, and Skubal's hurt too. He's got that factor as well. But are you going to trade for a Skubal or a guy with an expiring contract? Maybe you do, but you're going to let it expire. You're not going to re-sign him when you don't know what the labor situation is going to be. And they are pushing hard for the cap, both high and low. 274, I believe, and 171 at the bottom. Players are never going to agree to this. There's going to be a lockout in December. On the field news, Judge's injury, it needs to be talked about. 4 to 6 weeks at minimum. I'm guessing he's not going to be back till the middle of August, potentially. Can the Yankees pitching and defense keep them afloat while Judge is out? We'll see. This team has struggled to score runs with Judge. Christopher Sanchez has his 50 and 2/3 scoreless streak stopped by the Padres the other night. One of the longest streaks in baseball history. What was Hershiser? I think 59. Now the difference is, Sanchez was doing it pitching 6 innings at a time, and Hershiser pitched complete games every game. Ohtani's hot. Lowered his ERA the other night to 0.74. And he got his batting average after an atrocious start for Ohtani. He's up over 300 now. Playing much better baseball. Jason Mizorowski on maybe a friendly radar gun, but 103.7 the other night. Or yesterday, maybe it was. Tremendous. The Braves continue to play great baseball. Best team in baseball right now, the Dodgers included, for the moment. And there's some other news as well. NFL, we had the Myles Garrett trade this week. We had the A.J. Brown, I'll get it right. A.J. Brown trade, which was kind of dwarfed by the Garrett news. But this is interesting. The Rams, give off signals that they're all in, but then they use the 13th pick on the draft on a pick that will not help them the next 2 years. On a project. They could have got a similar quarterback, by the way, at any point the next 2 or 3 years. I know they need somebody to replace Stafford at some point, and they probably want to get a head start on that. They could have made a pick in the 3rd round and got a guy as good as Ty Simpson in my mind. Ty Simpson's not helping you the next 2 years. Every other move you've made, for McDuffie, for Garrett, you trade draft picks, you trade Jared Verse. Your signals are you're all in, except for the one where you didn't do anything to help yourself the next 2 years. I don't get it. The Bears look like they're on their way to Indiana, by the way. And also with the Brown trade, it kind of looks like Kayshon Boutte is going to be out of New England. He really stepped up, played great last year. He hasn't reported the voluntary OTAs. And they have been shopping him, and he has been open to a trade. Watch out for Miami, an interesting interdivision trade, and the Raiders to get involved there. I would say keep your eye on that. In college sports, we'll look at the men's bracket. Crazy game with Georgia and Mississippi State yesterday. I watched a lot of that game. And the women, the softball, Texas wins for the 2nd year in a row over Texas Tech to take the NCAA championship. Great job there. Hello, Rick. How are you? The fastest pitcher I faced was we played Glens Falls one time, and I faced David Palmer, who in high school probably threw in the low 90s, that's fast for a high schooler, right? In the Tri-Valley League, we had a couple. I can't remember. There was a kid from I had trouble with guys with freaking curveballs. Hit fastballs all day long. Curveballs give me a little trouble. But we had a kid. There was a kid from Kansas. He threw really hard, hit me in the head. Probably had a concussion since then, the last 50 years. But we saw a Glens Falls team that had both David LaPointe and David Palmer. So anyway, we got a slow starting crowd this morning again. But Sundays have been slow. I get it. Danny's tired of getting up at 6 a.m. for the show, comes in later. But we'll plug on. We're going to talk about it. We'll have to go back and forth, which we do. It's a Sunday stream of consciousness, right? Also, and I didn't even know this was a thing necessarily. I guess I did because I saw something on Yahoo. But there are some people that lean my way too, by the way, because I'll probably get called a rhino today. There are some people that were pointing out that Wemby had his arms folded during the national anthem the other night. Who cares? He's getting ready for a ball game. I mean, we're really picking at straws here, right? It was on the Spin picked it up. Something called the Shadow News or something picked it up. This wasn't the New York media, by the way. Who cares? Nobody's going to care. We care more about him turning the ball over than that. And I really feel bad. I've lost some viewers here recently because of politics. I don't get it. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. We don't dive that far into that. Again, when I go down that road, because 10 miles of road equals 20 miles of ditch, and we end up in a ditch all the time. But the finals have been exciting. The Knicks haven't played great basketball, except for when it really matters. They found a way to get behind. 10, 11. They came back from 13 down the other night. They found a way to blow a lead, blow a 13-point lead Friday night, and managed to hang on at the end. A couple of big plays. The foul on OG that wasn't called, it was reversed when Mike Brown challenged, and the president of the AV club was the one that pointed out to Mike Brown he might challenge that. OG was complaining, though. I think they would have changed it or challenged it anyway. That was huge as he made all three foul shots. And the game was tied when Wemby throws it away, and Brunson only makes one of two. Spurs just feel a little young yet. Wemby's turned the ball over way too much. And I know that that wasn't all Wemby's fault either. I mean, why is Wemby bringing the ball up on the last possession of regulation at minimum? Made no sense. But Cat played well again. 2 games. He's played well in these playoffs, I have to tell you. I was never the biggest Karl Anthony Towns fan. I wasn't a big fan of the trade when it happened. This has been a trade that's really worked out for both teams. And Cat played really well. He had 14 rebounds the other night. What do you have? 13 rebounds, 21 points, 8 out of 12, 3 of 5 from downtown, which, by the way, is big because it gets Wemby out front of the basket. Bridges was 8 out of 13 with 20 points, 4 out of 6 from three-point land. This Knick team, I'm telling you, I know people don't like the way basketball's played today with the three-pointers and whatnot. The Knicks shot 38 three-pointers and only 29 for the Spurs, shockingly. But, at least, and I've seen this with other teams. I talked about it with Golden State. Golden State played the game, other than where the shot came from, a lot like the Knicks in the 70s when they were winning championships and I was a kid. Ball movement. Knicks move the ball pretty good. They're better when they're moving the ball. They're worse when Jalen Brunson is just monopolizing the ball. They're better when he doesn't have to do all that. And he was only 7 for 25 the other night. He got 20. The first night he got 30 points off of 31 shots. Again, he has not shot well, but he's played really well in the clutch. A little bit more on the assist side. Friday night he had 6 compared to 2 in game 1. Hart still, he only played 18 minutes the other night. He had foul troubles, and he needs to stop complaining about fouls, man. He looks like a wide receiver in the NFL, as I said on the roundtable show this morning. But the bench was good. Mitchell Robinson with 7 points off the bench, even made half his foul shots, like 29% in the playoffs. Shamat with another 13 off the bench. Jordan Clarkson did not play in this game, by the way. He was their bench for a lot of the year. McBride played okay. Alvarado, very up and down. He didn't have a good game the other night. But they played well enough to spell the starters. Bench is getting shorter, by the way. There's been less minutes. And then the Spurs bench had just 18 points the other night. Dylan Harper played not as well as he played in game 1, but did come away with 15 points and 6 rebounds. You can't start him, though. I mean, I got to start. Fox played well. And you can't sit. I mean, if Fox is playing well, you can't sit. You can't sit Vassell. You can't sit Castle. They play Vessel, excuse me, or Vassell. These guys play some defense. So does Champagne, however you just want to say his name, the kid from St. John's. Play really good ball. Knicks come home up 2-0. No team has ever lost the first 2 games of the NBA Finals at home and come back and won the series. Now, I'm not saying the Spurs can't win. I'm just saying history's not on their side. It's a good Spurs team. Again, you can make an argument that they outscored or outplayed this team, the Knicks team, a good part of games 1 and 2. But the Knicks have played better in the clutch. So the NBA and the NHL are right now, I mean, this is shaping up. Maybe it won't be a classic NBA series, but the Knicks winning for the first time in 53 years is one of the biggest stories in recent years. I'm sorry, it is. New York haters aren't going to think so, but that's fine. You can think what you want. The NHL is going to get lost in the shuffle here. I mean, it's going to be. It's been a great 3 games so far. Last night's game was nuts, as I said. Vegas with 4 goals in the second period, 3 by Marner, and they could have had 2 more. They were disallowed. One on an offsides, one on goalie interference. So, in any event, this is getting lost. We had a little discussion last week, and we'll bring it up again if and when Danny is here. We talked about the viewership for these series, and I believe, and again, I don't, to the best of my recollection, the statement was going to be that the viewership would be close, not close. 17 million for game 1 of the NBA, 5 for the NFL or the NHL. Good morning, Brian. No. He should be in a conversation more than where he is. Where did he finish? He might have finished. Did he finish? He didn't finish there. He probably finished 4th, I'm going to guess, right? He should. Do I think he should be MVP? No, because I think Joker should have been the MVP and not SGA. Although SGA is probably the second, would have been second in my mind. Let's see. So SGA was 1. All right, so here he didn't finish 4th. So should he be considered for the MVP? Absolutely. Should he have won the MVP? No. Although, I mean, if you take Jalen Brunson off this Knicks team is probably not winning 50 games. They're not winning 45 games. They're not in the NBA Finals, which doesn't really count. We should not vote on these things till the season's over, in my mind. But the fact that he didn't finish in the top 10, or what do we have listed here? At least the top 8. So Wemby was 3rd, Jokic 2nd, SGA 1st, Luka was 4th, Cunningham, I got no argument there, 5th, Javion Brown, Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell. I could make an argument he should be ahead of Brown, Leonard, and Mitchell at least. Maybe Doncic didn't play that much or enough. Played just enough, I guess, to get in the. I thought you had to play 65 games, by the way. I guess it's the injury thing comes into play, right? With him and Cunningham. So to answer your question, Brian, no, he shouldn't be the MVP. Yes, he ought to be considered a little more than he has been. Well, it should go to the guy. If you take him off the team, so if we just go by that, right? Without SGA, and actually SGA shouldn't win because if you take him off that team's still probably, it's going to be a playoff team because they're deep. He's a great player. I know a lot of people think SGA is overrated. I don't. But that team is a lot better than some of these other teams too. If you take Jokic off of the Denver, what do? They're not in the playoffs. Same with Wemby. Cunningham, I think that team is good enough probably to be a playoff team without Cunningham, not finish first in the East. Jaylen Brown was probably very instrumental to Boston this year because of Tatum missing so much time. Kawhi Leonard, again, it's not a good team. Players on bad teams shouldn't be the MVP. We could have a Player of the Year award. I mean, I always thought that we should have like a Player of the Year award in all the sports and an MVP. I mean, I think back to some of the MVPs in baseball. Andre Dawson winning a National League on a Cub team that lost like 97 games or something. How? So if he wasn't there, they would have lost 110. You're absolutely right, Brian. It should go to the player who, if you took him off the team wouldn't be as successful or be successful, not as successful, because bad teams could enter into it. But I also think it ought to go through the playoffs. And if it went through the playoffs, Jalen Brunson's certainly going to be ahead of, probably be ahead of a lot of these guys. I mean, if you take it through the playoffs, and I don't think SGA's winning. And Jokic's not going to jump up. Neither's Luka. Wemby moves up. Mitchell probably moves up, even though he didn't play that well, I don't think. But Jalen Brunson is going to be in the top 5 at least. Should be in the top 3 if we take it all the way through the playoffs. Because what's a regular season MVP mean? I mean, if you have the best team and you get swept in the first round, which doesn't always happen, right? But what's that MVP season worth? Good stuff, Brian. Wemby was off that team and they were still 8-3. That's a good call. Cade off the Pistons 11-3. I'm surprised that The only one I'm surprised at right now is the Spurs were 8-3 without Wemby. I don't know how many games did SGA miss? He only played 68. Or the Knicks without Brunson. Let's see. Oh, I got to add this up myself. You can't give me the games. So the Knicks were 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 3 and 5 without Brunson. Okay. How about I got to do this. Let's check out Thunder without SGA this season. No, they averaged 8-6. 8-6 they were without SGA. So not as striking as Wemby and Cade to the Pistons and Spurs, but still, Jalen Brunson, Knicks are 3 and 5. You think the Knicks are? I'm not sure the Knicks are in the playoffs. They certainly aren't in the finals. Again, I've talked in glowing terms about how everybody stepped up around Brunson as he's struggled a bit here in these first 2 games of the playoffs, other than crunch time. Hiccup, sorry. But, I mean, if it's just Towns and Hart and OG, now OG would be a much better player. I shouldn't say that. Not better player. OG's numbers would be more eye-popping if Brunson wasn't on his team. But who'd be running this team? $500 maybe. Maybe. Yeah, Jokic finished second, so he's there. But for Brunson not to finish in the top 8, as I said, I'm guessing he must have been in the top 10. Let's see, that was from the let's see if I can find what this goes further. Now, everybody's got the same. I don't think he's finished. He should have been in the MVP conversation the last couple of years. And he's not even in the conversation. That's my problem. Right? I've said this a bunch of times on this show and other shows. Doesn't get the respect that he deserves. He's a great player, man. Clutch time. You know, we talked on the roundtable show this morning about Wemby, you know, changing the trajectory of shots and whatnot. The one guy who can do that and really does it well is Brunson. I've seen him throw a couple up that were rainbows. He adjusts on the fly very well, especially in the crunch time. I didn't know you were a Nick hater, Brian. 100%. Thank you for that. I always like it when the Nick haters give us some love. I think it's a New York thing for you, Brian. I'm not sure. But and I have to point out, make sure you understand, I'm a New York fan. Where I live is not New York City, man. Nothing even close. I mean, we might as well be in the Midwest. You get upstate here, it could be Texas. So, which is the Southwest, I understand. Anyway, what else are we going to talk about? We can talk about that. Certainly the NHL. It's your guys' show. I know we started a little slow in comments the last couple of weeks and picked up by 9:30, 10 o'clock. But there's no lack of stuff to chat about. Again, the Major League Baseball's starting to hit stride, and we'll get a little more attention once these NBA finals are over, especially here in New York. But by the way, once you get to Westchester County and towards the city, it's seriously, it's like two different states. Problem is, we got too many people downstate that are running things in this state. Too many downstaters in Albany making decisions that take money out of my pocketbook. Hello, Matt. Good to have you with us. As you know, Matt is my guy. I got to show the Jerry Kenny card again. I got this beautiful Jerry Kenny card from Matt. He's a man. Sends me some Yankee and Patriot cards from time to time. Yankee fan out in Orange County, California. Now, you guys have a crazy voting system out there, by the way. The primaries are basically run to set up runoffs with no regard to party. I mean, you could have two Democrats or two Republicans run against each other in the fall based on the primaries, right? That's what I want to get into that, but there's Danny. Good morning, Danny Fuller. So, Danny, I was talking about you a little while ago, but not about you, but we talked last week, and I want to get this out there before I forget. Yeah, I heard it may go to the 15th or later. Crazy. I don't know how that can be, by the way. Danny, we talked last week. We had a little conversation about TV ratings, and I said the NBA would absolutely annihilate the NHL, and that's been the case so far. Game one of the NBA drew just short of 17 million. Game one of the NHL drew short of 5 million, just short. You call it 5 million. By the way, that doubled last year's NBA Game 1 final. Game 1 of the finals. 8-point-something million last year. There you go, some NASCAR. Tom Daubney, if you're out there, Tom always asks me, do we ever talk NASCAR? And I don't, because I don't really know anything about it. I mean, I've talked about it when there's been some tragedy. Kyle Busch's tragedy, Trickle. Trickle? I can't remember the guy in the airplane now. I don't know enough about it. So a little shout out to the Michigan Firekeepers Casino 400 today. NASCAR has taken a dip, though. Am I wrong, Brian? Brian, I don't know if you follow it or just showing love to your home state there. But from what I gather in reading, general stories about sports and NASCAR specifically, is that NASCAR's popularity has waned quite a bit the last few years. It was huge here in New York and obviously throughout the state or throughout the South. I'm sure it's still big. But I think nationwide, I think TV ratings are down. And I've never understood why they play their Super Bowl like the first week of the season, basically. The Daytona 500 is the biggest race, I'm pretty sure. And it's like the first race of the season. Oh, it never made any sense to me. And I can't keep track of their point systems and all that. Denny Hamlin's on the pole sitter, and he'll, even though he'll start last due to car issues. I don't understand. Did he get put back because of irregularities with his car or something? I'm not sure how you can have won the pole but be starting last. See, I know a little bit about sport. I can talk the language a little. But am I right about it waning? in interest, vis-a-vis the TV ratings and whatnot. What else did I want to point out for Danny? Danny, by the way, I did give your Dodgers and Ohtani a quick shout out this morning. Ohtani the other night lowered his ERA to 0.74. Tremendous. Lowest in baseball. That would be the lowest ever for a starting pitcher if it were to stay there. And he's after an atrocious start. I don't know where his power numbers are right off the top of my head, but he's at 300. First time all year. So exactly, he had some irregularities with this car. Matt says, ever since NASCAR went to stages instead of just racing one race, I lost interest. Didn't help my driver, Martin, retired. Yeah, I guess that's one of my I did watch when I was in the beer business, and I was in that business for like 20 years until 2002 or so. I was with one of the biggest course distributors in the country, and they sponsored a car. So, I would watch the races because guys were interested in it. And I had a little interest. I knew who the guys were, right? I knew who the big races were. I knew who Dale Earnhardt is, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Darrell Waltrip, Michael Waltrip. Go back to Petty and Pearson and Allison. I know all the names. My dad watched NASCAR before it was huge, right? 70s, 80s. Jeff Gordon, I know, obviously. But they changed these weird, as Matt said, these stages and not racing a race. I don't understand the point system and how they make these guys winners. So. Brian is talking about the fact that Matt's correct in his assessment of NASCAR. If you're out there, Tom Dobney, pipe in. This is the time to do it. I should tell Tom if he wants to talk now. I'll talk any sport anybody wants to talk about, and I'll figure out something about it. If guys are coming and showing interest, I'll learn enough about it to talk about it. Semi-intelligently. Tiny won't get enough starts or innings to win the Cy Young this year. Just my opinion. He's already pitched more than I thought he would early in the year, Danny, though. And who knows what they look at for this anymore, right? Because we can't look at wins. Innings still have to come into play, and they use all these metrics that don't matter to me. I mean, to me, there's little doubt that he's the best pitcher in baseball right now. Listen, Danny, you're preaching to the choir when it comes to 1-0, 2-1 games. Well played 1-0, 2-1 games are fun baseball. I don't need slugfest. I mean, ESPN is all gaga. Well, of course, they're broadcasting the games. They're all gaga over the Georgia-Mississippi State game yesterday that was 13-12. That with 11 home runs or something like that. That's not fun for me. That's video game baseball. And a lot of, again, I hate to sound like the old guy screaming on my porch, but young guys don't like these 1-0 games. They like the Madden. They like the video game version of baseball where there's a bunch of home runs. I don't need that. Well pitched, well played, 2-1 games are fine. And if you had a lot of those, you wouldn't need the pitch clocks either, by the way. And you were at the game. Sorry, one more thing. So Danny was how? I think I saw. Did I see a picture of your seats? You were there early. I know you usually send a picture, and I can't remember if I saw it or not now. But there's nothing like being at a really good, well-played baseball game, I got to tell you. Too slow for a lot of younger people, but sorry. Brian lost interest after Dale Hart Sr. died at Daytona. I remember that very well. I was still in the beer business then, I think. I want to say around, what was that, 2000? Brian? I remember that because haven't watched races for a lot of years and seen a lot of highlights, obviously, of crashes. That would look like one of the least violent crashes I'd ever seen in any race. And they weren't wearing I don't know what they call that, whatever they put around their head and neck now. I hadn't used that yet, but I guess it was just enough to break his neck. So sad. It was a sad day. Who's a guy? Can't think of the country singer who sings a great song about Dale Senior is part of it. Dale Jr. is part of it. I think it's called Senior and Me, or something like that. Can't think of who sings it now. They shut down a local. That was a big. Didn't they have big races there, Matt, at Fontana? Over the years. Brian, then he started liking NASCAR again because Kyle Busch. Then his death happened, but I'm trying to stay on top of it a little better. You know, I probably would, and if we start to get people that are interested and say, I want more NASCAR, you know, they're going to be here participating, I would certainly stay more on top of it. I can promise you that. Look at that, some NASCAR chatter. Hello, Neil. Good to have you with us. Mizorowski, the Brewers might be the lead Cy Young candidate. He's pitched well. Cam Schlieder is going to be up there as well. Didn't pitch great his last time out, but he's pitched really lights out most of the year. Schlieder's going to be part of the American League Cy Young troops. Mizorowski certainly in the National League. Ohtani, as Danny said, probably won't get enough work, but maybe he will. But Mizorowski's just crazy. I mean, 103.7 the other night. I hope he doesn't get hurt because, again, the problem with these guys just going out and throwing 100 miles an hour all night long is the fact that none of them build up their arm. I'm going to go off on this tangent I said I wouldn't go off on earlier today on the Roundtable Show. The problem with all these guys, whether it's Schlieder, whether it's Mizorowski, whether it's Ohtani, whether it's any other young pitcher you want to talk about, they're going to end up all having Tommy John surgery because they don't pitch enough. They think they need to protect these guys and the huge investment they have in them, and they're making such a huge mistake by babying them and not letting them pitch more and strengthen their arms. So when they do go out there and go balls to the walls for 5 innings, their arms aren't structurally strong enough for that type of wear and tear. And there's nobody to blame for that except the people that run Major League Baseball. Nolan Ryan tried to, this is a while back now, probably 15 years ago. When Nolan Ryan was running the Rangers, he was trying to turn that trend around, and he didn't last long enough, and it's gotten worse. Neil with a shout out to the LPGA today. Nelly Corda tied for the lead. Is there a connection, a personal connection there, Neil, of some kind? I don't watch a lot of LPGA. I did see that Michelle Wie probably played in her last Open. Michelle Wie West. I didn't realize. I found out this weekend she's married to Jerry West's son. But she hasn't played a lot. She, again, was a child prodigy, if you will, who maybe never really hit her stride because you're supposed to too soon, too fast. But she played what likely will be her last 2 U.S. Open rounds, maybe even competitive golf rounds, as she's focused on her family. She hasn't played much. I don't think she played in the Open in like 6 or 7 years, maybe. But you do have a little connection there for that shout out, Neil? 2001, it That makes sense. I'm trying to think. I knew where I was living at the time, and I moved in 2001. And I knew I hadn't moved yet. So I thought it might have been 2000. But thank you, Danny. Thank you, Brian. Is that Eric Church? Feel like Eric Church, Neil. I just saw Eric Church, and I don't remember him singing that song. Maybe he did. I know I get in trouble. Guys get mad at me when I check stuff, but this is for me. Dale Earnhardt, country song. I need to know the name, too. Oh, it is Eric. Morgan Wallen's a guy I'm thinking of, I think. They do mention Eric Church here, though. They recorded a collaboration, number 3 and number 7. That's not it. Yeah, I'm thinking of a different one. So Morgan Wallen and Eric Church recorded a collaboration, number 3 and number 7. That's not the one I'm thinking about. It's more recent than that. God, I can't think about. I mean, the song goes, last night I met Dell Jr. backstage at a concert. Oh, Senior and You. I think it's Senior and You. All we talked about was Senior and You. You try that. Dale Jr. is a country song. It's called Dale Jr. and it's by Cole Swindell. That's the song I'm thinking of. You do have one. You are right, Neil Bush. See, 2 things can be true. It's a really good song. If you haven't heard Dale Jr., take a listen. The head harnesses they use today. I didn't know the term to use for that one, but yes, they're basically, aren't they in like a harness that's kind of got their whole head in like this, so it can't go either way, right? Fontana was big for races twice a year, then down to 1. Now none, I guess. Sad. I don't know about Talladega. Is that the one with, I don't know what that one is. But so does, now I gotta look it up because Matt's mentioning it as well. Talladega. Danny and Matt both on Talladega. Talladega Nights. That's a great song or movie. Talladega Nights was awesome. The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. Eric Church, Talladega. Good call, guys. You guys are all over this. Eric Church didn't sing Talladega the other, we were there 2 months ago, I guess. Good call. Good times at Fontana, nothing like being there live. I've never been to a NASCAR race. Was not a lot of stock car races. My uncle, when I was a kid, was big on stock cars. I guess you would call them stock cars. They raced at Fonda Speedway and Lebanon Valley, all around the capital region here. You could hear, actually, when I lived in Amsterdam, it was probably 10 miles away from the Fonda Raceway, and you could hear them at night going around that track 10 miles away. So we'd go up, you'd come home covered in dirt, dust. Too fun. Anyway, that's good. That's the most we've ever talked about NASCAR in this show. So everybody's right on the country music, right? Eric Church sang Talladega. Eric Church and Morgan Wallen sang a song that referred to number 3 and number 7. And Cole Swindell sings Dale Jr. So there you go. I like it when nobody's wrong, including me. So Danny, now that you're here, NHL, crazy game last night. Nobody can hold a lead, it seems, in this Stanley Cup series. We'll talk some hockey. Again, I don't want hockey to die. I just had said last week that I knew that the NBA was going to absolutely dwarf, and I didn't think it'd be 3-1 or 4-1, almost 4-1. We'll call it 3-1. I didn't think they'd outdraw them 3-1 in viewership. And they weren't going head to head, so you can't use that either. So, but the NHL crazy game last night, it's been a crazy series. Nobody can hold a lead. Vegas, fell behind 2-0 in the first game. I believe they had a 3-0 lead in game 2 and blew that. They blew a 4-0 lead last night with Mitch Martin getting a hat trick in 6 minutes, and they give up 3 goals in 39 seconds in the third quarter to cut the lead to 1, and then they get a somewhat controversial goal with less than 2 minutes left to tie it, and then Vegas wins in overtime. Double overtime, excuse me. Two nothing in game 3. That's fair. So they both blew 2-0 leads in the first 2 games. Trying to send out cards to the guys who are getting up there and get signed. Yeah, I get it. A lot of the guys I follow are getting up there. As I look at the cards you sent me here this last time, and forever. Jerry Kenny, I'm not even sure if he's still with us. Guidry's getting up there. Steve Nelson's getting up there. Tom Tresh, probably not here anymore. Winfield's up there. Bobby Richardson's gone. Roy White's in his 80s. Horace Clark died a few years back. I got a Judge card, though. He's young. Goose is getting up there. Jeter's not. Guidry. Moe's not. Thurm's gone, obviously. Willie's getting up there. That's enough. I'm old school. What's Danny got here? Danny, they had Riverside International Raceway in a POS mall till a POS mall was built. I think we know what that acronym stands for. One of the best old school tracks when NASCAR was amazing. I do remember the Riverside track. Again, my dad watched a lot when I was growing up. Late 60s, 70s. He stopped, but 2-0 in game 2. My bad. 4-0 game 3. Well, I did have game 3, right? I can't remember back to 2 nights ago. Tom Tresh died in 2008 at 70. I figured Tom was gone. Jerry Kenny. Jerry Kenny still alive? When I was a kid, first starting to watch the Yankees, he was a big prospect. Had trouble hitting his weight. Send your card to Judge. He's going to be out 3 to 6 weeks. It's 4 to 6, but I think he's going to be out longer. So he will have time to sign cards, I guess. Gonna find out what the Yanks are built for, no doubt. I agree. Listen, I said this before that here's the thing. Yankees were having trouble scoring runs already. Losing Judge, regardless whether he was having a good year or bad year, it hasn't been his best year. But he's always a threat. And when you remove that threat from the lineup, it makes a difference. And you also have to factor in the fact that he plays great defense, which is where he got hurt, by the way, diving for a ball 2 weeks ago. I have little doubt he's going to be out probably until Kenny's still alive, eh? I have little doubt that Judge is going to be out till August. This is going to be an injury that's not going to heal fast. And there's zero reason to bring him back before he's 100% healthy. Ribcage injuries always a problem, always linger if you rush them back. You wait till it's completely healed. They're 11 games over 500. The American League stinks. If they play just 500 baseball and Judge doesn't play the rest of the year, they're going to make the playoffs. Now, they're not going to win. I mean, if they finish 11 games over 500, they're going to make the playoffs. So who's the last team in now? The Rangers, maybe? They're under 500. Yeah, 31-33. Yankees lost to Boston Friday night, by the way, and rained out yesterday. But we will find out what they're made out of, Danny, because they have to find a way to manufacture runs. Aaron Boone cannot sit in the dugout and wait for 3-run home runs. Got to manufacture some runs, and he's done a little bit of that the last couple of weeks. Pitching's got to hold up. The starting pitching's got to hold up, and the bullpen's got to be better. Neil Bush. Mercer started the season at third base, Kenny in the outfield, and they switched a couple weeks into the season. Yes, they did. Bobby Mercer played some shortstop, before he became a fixture in center field, played shortstop, third base. Roy White came up as a second baseman. Mercer's my guy. I got a bunch. Got this one right here. There's my boy. Bobby was my guy. Had some great conversations with his wife, his widow, Kay. Wonderful lady. Hello, Paul Spada. Good to have you with us. Keith, American League states that what I've said about saying about the NBA East until about 2 weeks ago. What happened then? Remember I said the West had 3 best teams in the NBA? I do remember that. Changed my tune when I had a little breakdown after San Antonio. I did a little breakdown. I did have a breakdown. Okay series, as you know. Listen, this team's won 13 straight games. What, 8 in a row on the road, I think? 7 or 8 in a row on the road. You got to believe, man. To steal Tug McGraw's line, you got to believe. And I know the competition in the East was not as strong as the West. I will not put up a single argument. But it isn't like there was nobody in their way. And it isn't like they were just getting by, because they were dominating teams. And it was a matter of whether they were going to, if they had really found that next level, or whether it was a mirage. And look, they haven't played great. Well, I shouldn't say that. Part of the teams played great each game. Brunson's only been, other than clutch time, which is the most important time, by the way. As I said, you can make an argument the Spurs have outplayed the Knicks a good part of these first 2 games, except when it matters. Brunson's been really bad, kind of, except for crunch time. When it matters. But somebody's also been there to pick him up. Towns has been tremendous the first 2 games. Bridges was great in game 2. Hart was great in game 1. Shamat's been steady off the bench. There's always somebody to step up. Sometimes it's just meant to be. I'm not saying the series goes over either, by the way. Historically, the odds are really against the Spurs. No team's ever lost 2 in a row at home, the first 2 games at home, and then gone on to win the series. Ever. That doesn't mean it can't happen the first time, and I understand, as Jack pointed out to me this morning, if there's that 0.02%, or 0.2% rather, chance, They could still win. They're talented. They could still win. They could come to New York and win the next 2 games. They could. I'm not expecting it. I would fully expect them to find a way to win one of the next 2 games and go back to San Antonio. What's the old adage? The series doesn't really start till the home team has lost a game. Well, series has started for San Antonio. It hasn't really started on the other way if you want to look at it that way. History says they can't win this, though. Still got to play the games. And it is going to be a mob scene. I know the fans are great all over the NBA for the most part, right? Big. Every home team, and there is a home court advantage, by the way. And Jack doesn't like to believe in that much either, but there is. Especially in basketball. When you're that close to the action, I think the Spurs are coming into an environment Monday night that they have not seen before. I've already figured it out. I have, yes. I'm making my own adjustments to your comments as I go. You're talking to your phone. It was a late night graduation party, and I'm tired and old. I didn't have a late night graduation, and I'm tired and old. So I understand. Who graduated again, Danny? Let's give out some congratulations. Give him a little shout out. It does look bleak for the Spurs, but again, you don't get here without some resiliency, right? They were down 2-1, down 3-2, I guess, right, against the Thunder. I thought they'd lose that series. They even had some, they even had some challenges against the Timberwolves. I just think they're young. This team's going to get better, right? I mean, theoretically. Again, as I tell Jack all the time, there's no sure thing that guys who are young are going to continue to get better. Some guys peak. Some guys get complacent. If they stay hungry and this team develops the way that it should, Fox is really the only main contributor that, to me, has probably already peaked in his career. They're all going to get better. They're going to be a force in the West and in the NBA for quite a while, most likely. And the Thunder and Spurs, that's where the West winner is going to come through for the next bunch of years. Knicks are not that young. Knicks probably don't have a 5 or 6 year window like the Spurs do. And I think that plays into motivation as well. They know they may not get another shot at this. I wouldn't think they couldn't compete the next couple of years anyway. And once you win one, who knows what can happen? Knicks can't win the series at home. They have to win on the road. They can win the series at home, though, Anthony. Good to have you with us. Anthony, I think we've seen you in a bit. Knicks can't win the series at home. They have to win on the road. New York going to be shut down for a week. Well, New York's going to be a little rough this next week with where are the Yankees, by the way, this coming week? Let's see where the Yankees and Mets are this coming week. Hope they're on the road for their sake. The Mets are home. Yankees are in Cleveland. But the Knicks are home. The World Cup starts. The president will be in town on Monday. It'll be nuts. But they can win this series at home, Anthony. If they sweep the next 2 games, the series is over. I fully expect the Spurs to find a way to win a game in New York. I do think this series will get back to San Antonio, but my head says that. My heart wants them to end it Wednesday night. No, I know. It is a rivalry. I mean, OKC's not going anywhere. They're not old. They're young. They need to get better. They need an answer for Wemby. I'd keep an eye on OKC and Giannis, quite frankly. I think that's an interesting place for him to go. And if I'm San Antonio, I'd be talking to LeBron. I don't have a favorite Spur. OG's really my favorite Nick, by the way. But Brunson, listen, we talked about it earlier in the show. Brunson gets no love nationwide. Why? Why? Didn't finish in the top 8 in the MVP voting. How can that possibly be? Danny's granddaughter, that's what I thought was your granddaughter. I didn't want to jump to confusions. Headed to California Baptist University, who did they make the NCAA tournament in basketball this year? Congratulations to Lillian. Off to the University of Higher Learning. Do me a favor and go have a conversation with all of her professors, would you, Danny? Just saying. There's a nut job here in Columbia that, oh my God, I didn't want to get into it. Hello, KCBS. How are you? Good to have you with us this morning. There's a shout out for BA, if he's still with us. Two of the best cards I got signed were Eddie LeBaron, Ryan Sandberg. One of my favorite players, Ryan Sandberg, by the way. LeBron's not done, Neil. Whether he should retire or not, I mean, he's done. Well, he has nothing left to prove. And I don't really know why people, I get it. We don't like LeBron off the court. But if you watch LeBron play this year, or certainly in the playoffs, LeBron's not done. LeBron's not, going to single-handedly lead a team to the playoffs. He doesn't need to. He needs to find a place. And Lakers are probably going to try to bring him back at a reduced salary, is what's going to happen. But if I'm LeBron, I'd be weighing my options about where's my best chance to win. If I want to win one more time, I'm doing one of two things. I'm going back to Cleveland, do it one more time, which would be the perfect end to his cycle. I'd go to someplace like San Antonio where I don't need to be the lead dog. I can come off the bench potentially even. But LeBron has basketball left in him. You saw that, by the way, in these playoffs when the Lakers advanced without Reeves for the most part and Luka entirely. But if we want him to go away, listen, we get fatigued with players just like we do with politicians and actors, right? You get fatigued because that's who gets talked about, and you just get worn out by them. I get it. You can't say LeBron can't play anymore. Boston Paul, another shout out from KBC Sports. KCBS? No, KCB. Oh, good to have you with us anyway. Brunson got no love in Dallas either. One of the worst things ever. Well, it's obvious. They let him walk for like $15 million. It's a song. $15 million a year for one of the top 5 players in the NBA. whether he gets the votes or not. Imagine, and get nobody back. They didn't just let him walk. They didn't get players for him. Imagine him down there playing with, of course, if they had Brunson, they would never got Cooper Flagg. But can you imagine him playing with Cooper Flagg? That's one of the worst non-moves in the history of the NBA. KCB mentioning a congrats to Lillian for sure. Well, Danny, I know you're, again, there's a lot of haters. And I get it. When I say haters, I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's normally meant. I get why people don't like LeBron because of the off the court stuff, some of the flopping. He's not done. I mean, what are we watching that what are you seeing that tells you that he's done? Should he retire before he's a shell of himself? I'll listen to that argument for sure. I'll listen to any argument, but guess who? Wemby and Duncan. Are you saying pick one? I did this last week. I took Tim Duncan all day long. $15 years from now, maybe the conversation is different. 10 years from now, maybe the conversation is different. Say again, Tim Duncan's the most fundamentally sound player I've ever seen in my lifetime. Yes, that includes Larry Bird. Totally unbiased opinion, by the way. I don't root for any of those teams. Oh, it's Jeremy. I knew I recognized that. I always lose track of the network names. Smoking Jeremy B. Good to have Jeremy with us in Detroit. Last comment, both players wonder. Oh, I see. Listen, Wemby has a chance to be better maybe than Tim Duncan. Has a chance. I'm still taking Tim Duncan all day long right now. He's going to have to go a ways to beat Tim Duncan. Just a personal opinion. They're both number one picks, both carried their teams to the playoffs. Well, Duncan had some good players around him, by the way. They both beat the best team in the West, agreed. One won the finals, the others still have a chance. That's fair. Wemby's probably, again, we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know the future, right? A lot of things affect players. Jack doesn't like it when I say injuries. Well, injuries are always a possibility. We hope not. But there's a lot of factors that happen in somebody's life that derails their ascension to, greatness. Complacency. Marriage. Again, distractions off the court. All signs point to him being tremendous. I'm not putting him in Tim Duncan's class just yet. Go win something. Come up big in big moments. And play better fundamental basketball than you're playing right now. He, to me, at least on a fundamental level, he doesn't even come close to Tim Duncan. I mean, check out the turnovers. Lakers are like the Yankees and a few other teams. They're not about, near the mind, by the way, not about moral victories, and that's all the Lakers have with LeBron, a moral first-round win, and they could go no further. It's time. He did win a championship there, did he not? I understand, it was in the bubble, but everybody played under the same rules. Now, if I don't disagree necessarily. I don't think the Lakers shouldn't let him go. But again, that's different than saying he's done and can't help some other team. Again, remember, LeBron took a huge step back. He wasn't carrying this team before the playoffs. And I agree with you 100% about moral victories. I'm not a moral victory kind of guy. As you know, from my dislike of the way Aaron Boone has not gotten the Yankees over the top in 10 years. But there's different levels of that, right? I didn't feel that way about Tom Thibodeau, obviously. But LeBron had taken a step back when the Lakers were playing really good, close to great basketball the last third of the season before Luka got hurt, before Reeves got hurt. LeBron had kind of taken a step back and accepted his role as the third wheel. If he goes to San Antonio, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I just think it would be a great, great fit. But this doesn't do anything to tell me LeBron's done. Now, whether the Lakers should be done with him, that's a different conversation. I'm not saying it's wrong. This wasn't necessarily working with Luka and Reeves. Now, the argument could be made when they were healthy at that last third of the season, it was working. And it would have been very interesting to see how the playoffs play out. Lakers might have been more of a factor against the Thunder or against the Spurs or however it shook out if they were playing at full strength with those guys like they did the last third of the season. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. Shout out to Smoking Jeremy. You need booze when you're listening to me. What do you think's in here? It's coffee. It might rain. Danny Fuller. I know we're on the same page here. Tim Duncan all day and twice on Sunday. You know, it's come to my attention here the last week or so since we had this conversation first with Tim Duncan and where he compares with other players. That Tim Duncan may not be just the most fundamentally sound player I've ever seen, but he might be the most underrated guy with 5 titles. I think he's got 5 titles, right? That I've ever seen. Am I wrong? Tigers, though, listen. Jeremy's a Detroit fan, obviously. Let me take a look. I looked at this Friday. I'm not the biggest Glaber fan in the world. If you've watched my show, you have come to that conclusion. What have they done recently? Well, you did win 4 in a row against the Rays and the Mariners, and you lost to the Mariners yesterday. So you've been playing better baseball. Riley Green's a great player. I like Riley Green a lot. But McGonagall's come back to earth a little bit. I think he's going to be a great player, but he's come back to earth a little bit. Torkelson's been a complete bust. Dingler's got some pop, but doesn't hit enough. Cole Keith, I don't know. He's what they expected him to be. Who else? Their top players. Verling's been bad. Torrey's up to 278 now, but still his OPS is, 770. It's not terrible. I mean, he's only got 7 extra base hits, though, and 130 at bats. That's not great. Kerry Carpenter's killing him at 237. A little bit of pop. But if your pitching doesn't get healthy, and I like the Tigers. Don't get me wrong, Jeremy. I'm not beating up on the Tigers because I picked them to win this division again. I think you got one of the best managers in baseball. I thought you had one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. But injuries are just mounting, right? You got Mize out for the foreseeable future. Scooble, I mean, again, most of the positive talk. I hope he comes back. I want the best players in baseball to play. But all the positive talk I hear comes from his agent, nobody else. And Scooble's the best pitcher in baseball when he's healthy. Flaherty hasn't pitched well. He never pitches well until he gets to the playoffs against the Yankees. World Series against the Yankees. Matt, reason I'm not following the NBA. Players jumping ship. Today's era only interested in three-point shooting. Flopper LeBron was 20-point average. I'll give him that. Flopping is a problem in the NBA and has been for a while. I really think they had to find a way to cut down on that. Again, I've mentioned maybe they need to put in a rule similar to soccer where you get I don't know if I think it's a yellow card when you flop once, and if you get another card, you're out. Make it a foul, make it a penalty to flop. Some of these guys are egregious, man. As far as the three-point shooting goes, I mean, if you're just running down the court, throwing up a three-pointer, no, I don't like that, Matt. But when you watch teams, and I talked about this at the top, you may not have been here, but the Knicks look for an open three-pointer. There's a lot of ball movement there. I think the Spurs do it a little bit too. Not quite. I don't think they do it as much as the Knicks. But you go back to Golden State, and they're really good teams. They moved their ball movement to me was very similar to the Knicks in the 70s, except they weren't looking to get the open 15-footer. They're open to get the open 22-footer. That's the game today. I get it. But there are some teams. The Knicks play tremendous defense too. A lot of their offensive runs have been jump-started by the defense. They play great defense throughout this playoff series. Now, the overall game, I will tell you, during the regular season, the games are hard to watch. Playoffs, though, you can see the defense ramp up. Still too many three-pointers. I won't disagree with the fact that there's too many. But to me, it's how you set up those three-pointers. If you're just running down, taking a three-pointer with 20 seconds left on the clock, well, that's just stupid. But when you're running a designed offense to get an open three-pointer, it can be a thing of beauty if you let it be. And if it's done right. Guys have picked it up nicely today. Thank God. Amazing what happens when you have 6 consistent bats versus 4. For sure. You're never going to convince me that Glaber is a good player, though, ever. And the Yankees help precipitate that as well. John Gonzalez, I see out there. No comment from John this morning. Anybody's out there, we got a bunch of viewers. Please feel free to comment. And if you don't comment and you pop in, if you're commenting, also do me a favor and put up a like or a love or laugh. Do whatever you want. If you think the show's laughable, put a laugh up. If you just pop in, you don't comment, do me a favor and put a like up. All good for the show. And that's whether you're on YouTube or wherever, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I don't disagree, but some guys are still fundamentally sound. Nobody sounds like Duncan. And listen, Bird was a great player. We had a debate last week about Duncan and Bird. And I would still argue that Duncan's more fundamentally sound than Bird, but Bird was a very fundamentally sound player. And maybe overall a better player than Duncan. But, I mean, today, fundamentals are definitely at a lack. But there are some teams that are fun to watch and do run actually really good motion offenses, similar to what the Knicks and other teams did in the 70s and the 80s even. It just ends up being a three-pointer instead of a two-pointer. That's all. Wemby's going to be a fine player. But you're seeing in this series that he's still got a ways to go. He was invisible in the first half in game 2. You can't just disappear for, 24 minutes or 30 minutes. How many games? What did they play? 12-minute quarter. What did they play? 48 minutes, right? Jeez. You can't just appear for a half. Let's make it simple on myself. You can't just appear for a half and want to be called one of the great players in a game. Shaq called him out at halftime. Barkley was trying to excuse it away. You can't just be invisible for the extended periods of time and want to be one of the best players in the game. He's 22. He made a horrible decision at the end of the game. To his credit, he owned up to it. And you could fault the guards for not coming back and getting the basketball, but nothing against Wemby. He's 22 years old. We all know if LeBron is done, depending on the next team he goes to. But I know a thing, if LeBron gets released or traded, Bronny won't be on the Lakers. That's probably true. And listen, one of the things I hold against LeBron is what happened with Bronny. I've argued this forever with guys that, we'll never know. It's entirely possible Bronny's this player and nothing more. But if Bronny had stayed in school for another year, even 2 years, because remember, he was barely a year past a serious medical condition when he entered the NBA draft. He played a half a season in college. And if I was his father, I would have said, Bronny, you're not ready. Stay in college another year. Stay another 2 years. The NBA will be there. But LeBron didn't counsel him that way. He wanted to play with his son. And right now, he's no good. That may have been the case all along. But you don't come to the NBA and hope to develop your skills from that far down. You did say Nixon 4, and I did kind of poo-poo that, but it's possible now. "13 straight wins." I'll give John Gonzalez, credit for today. That's why we play the games. They could very well sweep this. But the Spurs are good enough to come back and win a game in New York at least, if not tie it up. Here's the thing. The Knicks have done really well in the clutch. They're not blowing this team out the way they did Cleveland and the way they did Philadelphia for the most part. I mean, it's been dominant since game 3 against Atlanta? Is that when they last, or game 2 against Atlanta? Is that the last game they lost? Weren't they down 2-1 in that series, actually? Maybe it was game 3. I mean, this is dominant as Philadelphia, if you remember, in the 80s, 82, when Moses Malone first got there. But these first 2 games, again, I'm a huge Knicks fan, but I also can see what's in front of me. And there's been huge stretches that the Spurs have badly outplayed the Knicks, except when it matters in crunch time and on the scoreboard. The experience of the Knicks against the inexperience of the Spurs really shows up right now. Now, with all that said, the Knicks might very well sweep this, John. And I think it would behoove them to do so. Don't give teams any life. When you have them down, you put your foot on their throat. You don't let them up. Going to be a little crazy getting around New York City the next few days, isn't it, John? With the Knicks at home, the Mets at home, the World Cup starting, the president coming into town Monday. I think I'd want to be home and not out on the roads. Tim Duncan, and before that, David Robinson. David Robinson doesn't even compare to Duncan in my mind, or Wemby. Well, maybe Wemby. Robinson was a fine player. Don't get me wrong. But I don't feel that David Robinson, he never won, did he, without Duncan? Just saying. Both great players, but Duncan, listen, Duncan's maybe the most overrated player in the NBA, at least since I've been watching, maybe in history. John gives a shout out to the West Coast legend, Danny Fuller. Danny, I can't help but notice no comment on the ratings, the TV ratings for the NBA versus the NHL, by the way. Lakers need a big flop to Cleveland. Possible. Giannis will be in play with the Lakers. I think Giannis is in play in a lot of places, by the way. I don't think it'll be New York. It might have been if they had flopped in the playoffs. You might have seen them blow things up a little bit anyway to try to bring Giannis here. I think the Lakers. I think OKC. I think Dallas is a possibility if he wants to play with, maybe the best up-and-coming player who's not quite there yet, but will be in Cooper Flag. I mean, that would be a pretty good team. If Kyrie Irving comes back, as much as I have harped on Kyrie Irving over the years, he's still a pretty good player. When he's not, worrying about the world being flat. But if you had a healthy Irving and Cooper Flag and Giannis, well, guess what? Dallas gets much better really fast. Have they hired a coach yet, by the way? I don't think they have. And there's a good morning back to John Gonzalez. I'm not sure, Jeremy. Spurs were a great team with Duncan, Admiral, and Parker, and Ginobili. Oh, that's what you put there, probably, right? They were great after Robinson left, too. If I'm not mistaken, let me see. How many? All right, come on. Why is mine? How many championships for David Robinson? He won 2. He was with them for 2 of the 5 that they won during that, 9 years they won 5 titles, I think. Anthony's Orioles are finally hitting and scoring. The Orioles have played better. The Blue Jays have played better. I didn't get a chance to do the college baseball brackets, by the way. We'll take a look if we have a break in the comments. If we don't worry about it. The Orioles now are 3 games under 500. They did lose their last game. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Playing better. Some of the kids are hitting. Pitching's going to be their downfall, though, right? I thought they had enough pitching. I'm not so sure anymore. Alonso started to hit, though. Gunner's starting to hit a little after a slow start. He's still only hitting 225, though. Taylor Ward's shown no power at all. One of the worst signings of the offseason. 2 home runs and 235 at-bats. Starting to hit a little bit. But the pitching, I like Baz a lot, by the way. He's starting to pitch better. Shane Baz was a guy I think was going to win a Cy Young in the next couple of years. Just saying that. Bradish has pitched better. Bassett is not good. Bassett might be done. Trevor Rogers is another guy who hasn't stepped up. But if they improve that pitching a little bit, they can compete here. I had them win a wild card, or gaining a wild card, I should say. I guess. Got to pick it up a little, probably. How far behind are we? 15 minutes behind. Don't lose. If you're out here, I will get to your comment. I promise. Green, Dingler, McGonigal, Keith were the consistent bet. Keith hasn't really hit much at all. Bullpen wrap. So's your starting lineup, though. All your pitchers are struggling. But here's the problem. They're going to have a dilemma with Skubal. They're not going to sign him. I mean, you trade him and try to win anyway. Maybe you get a pitcher back. Very interesting what they do. And how much do the labor issues, the labor uncertainty, how's that going to affect the trade deadline this year? It's going to be very interesting. I got to pick it up a little here. Stanley Cup finals have been incredible so far. I agree. Great. But listen, I think the TV ratings are probably affected by the fact that you don't have huge markets involved there, or historically great names. But listen, it was an exciting game. That was one of the most exciting Stanley Cup games I've seen it forever last night. Did I say injuries were an excuse for anything? I don't think I did. If I did, I apologize. I point out injuries, but I don't. Again, I'm not sure which injuries we're talking about and where I might have made an excuse. But please point out to me, because I'd like to correct the record. If I said something about injuries, I wasn't using it as an excuse. I mean, injuries are a fact, but they're not a reason or an excuse. Or they can be a reason, but not an excuse, if that makes any sense. You got to find out. You got to be deep enough to overcome injuries. So yes, injuries shouldn't be. So let me know what I said, and I'll correct it. Oh, Verlander. He's older than me. Just get to the World Series, and he'll be great. Flaherty. Mize is scheduled to pitch a simulated game this morning. You get Mize and Skubal back, you'll be okay. And you're only 5 games out of wild card. As bad as the American League is, nobody's out of the wild card race except for maybe the Angels, because they're the Angels. But you got a dilemma what to do with Skubal, too. You can play it out, try to win with them. But is this team good enough to win it all? If they're not, you might as well trade them. I mean, if you're just going to get a wild card berth and win maybe the wild card round and go out in the division series, does it make any difference if you trade Skubal for something rather than play out the string? Unless you think you can win the World Series, it makes no sense to keep Skubal. None. Jeremy Facts on the Warriors. Thank you. $100%, Rick. And it's very similar when you break it down. It's similar. Watch guys like Bridges move without the ball. Bridges reminds me of Bradley, always moving without the ball. But they aren't moving to try to get open at 15 feet. They're moving to try to get open at 22. Now the Knicks do go to the hoop a little bit too, and Cat has a really good mid-range jumper, which a lot of guys don't have anymore. I'll agree with you guys. The NBA is a tough watch in the regular season most of the time. You get to the playoffs, though, it's different. Just different. Teams step it up on defense. They move the ball better. Most teams. Having Magic and Cavs back-to-back versus the Pistons. They're the biggest to shut down. Duran need another shooter, maybe next to Cade. Oh, we're talking about the Pistons and their issues. I do think you need another scorer in that team, for sure. Attaboy. Always hit the like button on the way in, guys. Your participation means the world to me. You make this show go. This is my favorite show to do. Of all the shows I've done over the last 7 years almost now. Because of your participation. All my shows, I get great participation. That's why most of the shows, other than the 2 shows with Jack, and I do the roundtable shows, but the shows I produce, if you will, myself, I don't have a co-host because I like you being my co-host. You guys have done a great job and continue to do a great job. Hit the button. Thank you, Matt. Did Denny tell you to ask me that question? I hate it. I hate it. I understand that we're heading down this road, right? And we're going to use artificial intelligence to get the calls right, as Danny says. And that's fine. The calls should be right. I don't have an argument the calls shouldn't be right. I'm okay with human error, but if we have to have the calls be, or the game be perfect with no blemishes, then just let the computer call the freaking balls and strikes. Get rid of the challenge. It sucks. I've seen too many. I know Danny thinks it's exciting. I don't know why. And again, I'm not talking about all the other challenges. I'm talking about balls and strikes. I mean, challenges just suck the life out of a game. They really do. Not everyone. If you only have, if you lose your challenges early, there's no more challenges. So, but, I'm also a realist. I know we're not going backwards. So we're going to have ABS is here to stay. Then use it to call balls and strikes. Don't use it for challenges. And then players will have to adjust. Now, there are unintended consequences. As I told you guys before, we're heading for 25,000 less swings at baseballs this year than any other year. We've had 10 walk games. There's been 18 of them this year. 10 walk games. By one team. Is that what we want? The strike zone is not perfect with ABS. Either get it right or don't use it, number one. I'm just saying. So do I like it? No. Am I realistic? Is it going anywhere? No. But the challenge is the worst part of it. It just sucks the life out of games for me. Wemby needs to get in shape. He's got his hand. I get it. He's a young guy. It's not like he's carrying a lot of weight around, but he's constantly winded. He's out of the game in the first quarter the other night. I don't know. They were 4 minutes into the game, 5 minutes into the game. He's off the court. I'm not getting it. I agree with you there, Danny. Bronny needed 2 more years of college to develop, 100%. And he still might not have been a player. I'm not, Jeremy, again, the guys that I've argued this with the last 3 years, he may never have been a player. But we'll never know because what he did by coming out when he did without his father counseling him the correct way, saying, Bronny, go back to school, was not in the best interest of the kid. Wemby's a superstar, but the supporting cast is average. He needs another big man up front. I think that supporting cast is going to get better, by the way. Castle's a really good defender, can play some defense. Harper's going to be a great player in my mind. So I don't think that supporting cast is as bad as you think. Although I said this all along, that I think the next first 5 are better than the Spurs overall. I mean, if I give you Wemby over Cat, which based on this series, I'm not likely to do, the other 4 positions, I think the Knicks are better. The key thing is nobody thought Cat would be this good against Wemby. I didn't. And again, it isn't all Cat on defense. As they've kind of rotated him and Robinson and OG. I thought we'd see more OG on. You still might see more of OG on Wemby, but Cat's a better player than I ever gave him credit for, ever. He's a great player, and he's gotten better, on the bigger stage. I wasn't a huge fan of that trade, quite frankly, and it's worked out really for both teams, I think. Jeremy saying for the Spurs, they always have a good. They do. Well, not always. I don't know who the center was here before Wemby got here. Brewers are playing great baseball. Again, I thought they'd take a step back this year, but they're getting good pitching. I think they played really good fundamental baseball. Pat Murphy coached in college at Notre Dame a long time. And a guy who, again, paid his dues before he got to be a manager. And I really think he believes in strong fundamental baseball. And if you don't play it, and if you do stupid nonsense like who's the kid the other 2 weeks ago, freaking with the crotch chop, he's going to call those guys out. Unlike some other guys I won't mention. I don't know if it's fake news or real, but did Rock? I don't think so. I'll take a look. I did not hear that, Danny, so that's a problem with news today. Oops, David Rivers. David Rivers. Great guard with the Marquette years ago. He is not. I don't think they filled that job yet. LOCA, good to have you with us. We got about 10 minutes left or so. Spurs need to thank the ridiculous NBA lottery and their success. I love what they've done with the new lottery rules, by the way. The NBA lottery, for their success, they've gotten players they don't deserve. I don't know. I mean, again, based on the way it's done, I can't say they don't deserve them. The draft should be for teams with the worst record. Brooklyn gets screwed every year. Well, big changes this year, right, John? Or next year, I should say, where all 16 teams that don't make the playoff are part of the lottery. And the teams that finish with the first two records get less ping pong balls than a team that finish, or maybe it's the first three. 4 through 9, I think, get more ping pong balls than 1 through 3. And it's only like 3 balls, 2 balls, 1 ball. So I think the teams that finish with the 3 worst records get 2 ping pong balls. The teams from 4 to 9 get 3 ping pong balls, and the 10 through 16 get 1. Much fairer than what they're doing now. Listen, I've said forever, and they want to stop tanking, right? I've said forever, you want to stop tanking, there's one easy way to do it. And before somebody sues me, I didn't come up with this idea. I'm just a proponent of it. The first draft pick goes to the team that missed the playoffs by the least, right? The first team out of the playoffs, the team that finished 9th. Well, yeah. So the team with the best record that didn't make the playoffs, that's what I'm trying to say, gets the number 1 pick. The team that finishes last gets the 16th pick. You'd stop tanking in a freaking hurry. Teams need incentive to win and not tank. Keys to the slump. He's not hitting 300. Did I look at that wrong, maybe? I don't have a lot of time to go back here, but maybe I looked at that wrong. I apologize. Oh, sorry. That was he's hitting 269. He's hitting 269. My bad. He's hitting better than I thought, but no pop at all. He's got 10 extra base hits, 8 doubles, no homers. Scott Harris said it depends on where we are in the wild card race with Scooble. But again, regardless, though, Jeremy, if you don't think if your team has a if your team has a legitimate chance to win the World Series, I would ride it out with them. But if they don't, and by the way, the American League's not very good. So if you get healthy and the hitters start to hit and the pitchers get healthy and pitch, maybe you think you got a chance. If you don't, you need to trade them. If you're just battling for a wild card to go out in the wild card round or maybe the second round, you got to trade them. How about him signing a contract, which would change and again, he's doing what he has a right to do. If the salary cap gets put in, he's not ever going to get the money he thinks he's going to get either. Scuba will wind up with the Dodgers just like every other star player. Entirely possible. John, you stop watching the what? The NV. John likes. I stopped watching the NBA play. Oh, there you go. When the Pistons lost to Cleveland. Well, I wouldn't have the same interest, as I get it. I mean, if the Knicks had lost to Cleveland or lost to Philadelphia, I probably would not be as invested. I would be because I got to do the show, and I need to be able to have these conversations. But would I really care what happened? Probably not as much. This is the ABS. I'm assuming so far players have been over 80% right, and I think that's the way it's going. It's fine. ABS, I know you love it. Listen, I'm not crazy about that, Danny, but if this is the way we're going to go, then the challenge really sucks to me. Thank you, John. See, John, we'd agree on a lot of stuff. Joe's never leaving my side again. Jeremy says his prediction, trying to get caught up here, guys. Prediction is the Tigers are 6 or more out of the wild card race and Scuba gets traded. Again, not my point. The point is, if you're in the last wild card slot, does that automatically mean you think you have a legitimate chance to get to the World Series? Maybe it does, because again, the American League's not very good, so it's entirely possible. I'd move them. Get it right or don't use it. Exactly. That's why umpires have become more obsolete. Well, ABS has shown a couple of times it's not perfect either, by the way. So just be careful there. Too early to tell. Here's the problem with the Giants. Their most important move, obviously, the offseason was getting John Harbaugh. The culture will change there. The team will be better this year. I'm not going to make any crazy predictions because it's starting to look like they don't think Neighbors is going to be ready for the start of the season, and they're not that deep at wide receiver. They didn't improve their running back room at all. And I know you're going to say, well, Scatterbo will be back healthy. Well, for how long? The way he plays, he's going to get hurt all the time. They didn't bring anybody in that running back room. Nobody. So Jackson Dart will be better. This team still needs, and the defense will be better. This team still got some work to do, though. My prediction would be the NL Central winners prior to the season because of Murphy. I thought they'd take a step back. I had the Cubs winning this division. This has been a weird division, by the way, because everybody, I think, has led it at one point or another. They've all had hot streaks. They've all had cold streaks. I picked the Cubs to win. I picked the Pirates second and the Reds last. Pirates have played decent baseball. That whole division was, at least on Friday, they were over 500. I'm not sure if they are right now, but it's the most consistent division in baseball. Well, I wanted Tibbs to keep the job. And my argument that Tibbs getting fired was wrong had nothing to do with Mike Brown. I like Mike Malone. I would have liked Mike Malone more than Mike Brown, too. Mike Brown's done a great job. I've got nothing bad to say about Mike Brown. He's made some great in-game adjustments. And maybe, again, I've heard this analogy. We got about 3 minutes left. I've heard this analogy a couple of times. He's, Joe Torre taking over for Buck Showalter. If he wins, it's a pretty good analogy, by the way. If the Mavs hired Doc Rivers, the Mavs won't see the playoffs again. It's possible. Doc's a decent coach. I mean, he's got an NBA championship. Recent results are not all that encouraging. I think the Mavs will go with a young coach. I don't think they're going to rehab or rehabilitate somebody or regurgitate somebody. I'm with John Gonzalez to a point, but if you take it to the end of the season just to get the number one pick, you don't deserve it. I agree. Tank, I think he's talking about, right? Get rid of tanking. Again, perfect solution. I just gave it to you. And the NBA's taken some steps, by the way. This new lottery system is going to really make it much more fair. And it's, again, there's no advantage to being finishing with one of the three worst records. Jeremy hates analytics, but making pitchers try to hit more spin rate, equaling more injuries. Ask the Dodgers pitchers. How about we just let pitchers pitch? We worry about spin rates and all this other analytics. How about we let pitchers pitch and strengthen their arms and not take them out after freaking 90 pitches all the time, but tell them to go all out. Throw 100 miles an hour. Throw sliders and fastballs. Throw the ball 100 miles an hour. But do nothing to strengthen their arms. Let them pitch. Again, I'll tell you, Sanchez just ended a 50 and 2/3 inning stretch. It took him a lot longer than it took Oral Hershiser to get to 50-some innings because Hershiser was pitching complete games every time, not 6 innings at a rip. Great accomplishments by Sanchez, but to me it's diminished by the fact that you're not throwing even in the most important part of games. Og is right. Again, and it also points out to me that they don't think Neighbors is going to be ready to play. Rumor has it the Mets trading Peralta to the Dodgers. If the Mets are sellers, then Peralta's probably gone. And you should. I think Peralta's a really good pitcher. Take out analytics. Good riddance, right? And that wraps it up. Guys, great show again today. We've had slow starting shows the last couple of Sundays, but you guys come in late, 9:30, 10 o'clock. We're rolling. We got all we do to get through the comments. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to spend with me on this Sunday morning. I hope it's beautiful wherever you are. Hope you can have some fun. I think we might take a ride to Lake George, take a little ride on the what do you call that? The paddle boat. I'm not paddling it. Giant paddle boat, like steamboats. Take a little ride and have a little dinner, maybe. That's what we'll do later. But guys, we'll see you on the other side. Let me get to this real quick. Your Giants, I'm all done after this. Your Giants eat some of that. They might have to, right? Giants are horrible. If you were talking about the baseball Giants, I apologize. I picked them to finish second in the West, and they're terrible. Baseball be baseball. Thank you, John. Thank you, Danny. You helped make it so. So do you. Oh, bye, John. All right, guys. We'll see you. Have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.